Thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. Cheryl, and this is Marin TV with Wealth Transformation. And we have a very special guest tonight, and his name is Terrance Thornton, Sifu Terrance Thornton. He has San Rafael Martial Arts in San Rafael, California, and he's going to tell his story about his business and about what he wants to share with us. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I guess I should call you Sifu.
Or
I've been
Terrance.
calling you Terry, but I don't want to.
That's okay. Terrance
go
is fine.
Terrance.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Terrance, tell our viewers and me about how you got involved and what was your impetus on getting involved with the martial arts.
Well, it really started a lot. My dad, he took martial arts. He actually took a style called White Crane, and he took that a long time ago, and he was actually kind of like my first teacher.
Oh, okay.
And so he used to take me to the movies. I was pretty fortunate enough to still see some of the Bruce Lee movies on the big screen.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So in the 70s, and after a few movies, and I was hooked. So.
Oh,
yeah.
So really, besides your father, the first role model was Bruce Lee in
Yes.
his techniques. Did he have the same technique that you did, or that you were learning?
Well, he did study the style of Kung Fu, and so as far as that goes, I really love the fluidity of it. I love the versatility of the Kung Fu style in general.
Yeah.
So I started off learning Kung Fu, but it was really that kind of sparked it.
And how old were you when you first?
I was about 10 years old when I saw the movies.
Mm-hmm.
However, when there wasn't a Kung Fu school in my neighborhood, and so both my parents worked, and I didn't have a way to get to a Kung Fu school by myself. And so I took the neighborhood Taekwondo school, it's a few blocks away.
And that's in San Francisco?
That's in San Francisco.
Yay for San Francisco.
Yeah, and I went there for a few years, and then once I was able to go to the school that I wanted to go to
Mm-hmm.
on my own, then I ended up going there.
So what was the next step after? I mean, at what point did you feel like you just wanted to keep learning and expanding your experience?
It was actually before I even started my first class. So I knew that this is like something I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And,
Did you think of yourself, did you think of yourself as having your own school at that point?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not even when I joined. I remember the school was owned by Grandmaster Doc Fai Wong, and I remember he took me out to lunch. I've been training there.
Master Wong did?
Grandmaster, yeah.
Grandmaster.
Doc Fai Wong. So he took me out to lunch. I've been training there for about maybe 3 years at that time.
Okay.
And so, he even asked me at that time, if I would want to open up a school. But I was.
Wow. He probably saw your dedication to it.
Probably, but.
And your quality of
yeah.
mastering your techniques and everything.
Yeah, I was definitely practicing a lot, for sure. But I didn't see the vision that he saw at the time.
Yeah. So what did you do after that?
After
you went to school for 3 years, or you were
at that time I was training. Yeah.
Training, and then let's see. If you were, how old were you? 10 when you started?
I actually started late. I was about 17 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you work then? You were working.
I was working part-time. I'd go there after work. I was also going to school. So I would go there after school in the days of school, and I would just work out for many hours.
I bet.
Yeah, so, and that's the school I've been at since, so for 30 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So your grandmaster, is he still?
Yes.
is he still your grandmaster?
Yes, he's still the school's grandmaster, and his son is my direct teacher. So he's Tai Sifu Wong, and so I've been fortunate enough to, really, I was thinking about it a few days ago. I really feel like it's part of a family. Because I was thinking about it, some of the things that he shares with me and the advice that he gives me.
And this is his son?
This is Grandmaster.
Grandmaster,
Yeah,
okay.
so some of the things that he says to me, I felt that for me right now, I wouldn't say some of those things to my students, but I would say it to my son if I had a son.
Oh.
And so, it just...
Well, then there's a special relationship.
For sure, yeah.
And you've known him for many, many years.
Yeah, yeah.
So, now, did you, when you were like 17 or even up to 20, whatever, did you go to China and practice and learn, or what was the connection there?
The connection there is actually, he would put together some trips, and we would go there for tournaments and demonstrations, and it's just more of like a sharing of the knowledge. So, the schools over there would share with us what they've learned, and we would share what we learned, and there'll be competitions as well.
Yeah. So you didn't really, your master's here. You grandmaster was here. You didn't have to go to China and study.
Yeah.
Because he came here.
Well, he was here, and right now he splits both. He's in China now, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very fortunate where he was here.
Did you learn
training.
Chinese?
No, but I did take a couple semesters in college, so I won't say that.
Okay. So at what point did you begin to even think about having your own school?
Well, for a long time I was in retail. So I worked, retail for about 15 years. You
were at Best Buy?
For the last 5 years I was at Best Buy. So I was one of the managers there. And, an opportunity came up where, I could actually leave Best Buy and have like a 6-month severance pay and a 1 year of medical insurance. And, I don't believe anyone thought that I would take it, but before, that was my only roadblock that I put in front of myself, is that I won't have medical coverage if I open up a school. And also...
Well, not for a while, anyway.
Yeah, and then just the money and capital to grow the business. You start with no students and you have to kind of grow it up, grow the business.
Right.
And so, so that opportunity actually took those roadblocks away. So I figured I'll give it a try. And
is that when you started?
That's when I opened up my business, yeah.
Okay.
8 years ago.
That was smart.
That
was smart, because then you didn't have to get someone else's money.
Exactly.
At that point.
I didn't take a loan at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started it with your own capital.
Yes, I did.
And how long did it take before it started to... Now, was that always here in San Rafael?
It was always here in San Rafael.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was a partner of the business in Sausalito for a couple of years, but then...
before you started?
Before I went to San Rafael.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just curious, why didn't you do it in the city?
It's a respect thing. So normally, if we open up a school, we don't open up in the same city of a school that you learned at.
Oh, sure.
So it's kind of like, so if one of my students might open up across the street,
no competition.
Yeah, so
that
you
makes
just want
sense.
to,
Yeah. So how long did it take before things started, you were getting more students? And
yeah, it took a little longer than I thought. I'll probably say about 3 to 4 years before it was covering itself. And maybe about a year and a half or two after that before it actually started, paying me, and it's, a little bit more comfortable, right?
Yeah. So what do you attribute that to? Did you advertise? What did you do that was different to be able to get to that point?
Yeah, the main thing is word of mouth. Actually, our number one driver is referrals. And so we get a lot of people referring people. Probably out of the last 10 students that we had, 7 were referrals.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I'm very thankful and appreciative of that, of course.
Of course.
And then we're in a good location in San Rafael, so we get a lot of foot traffic. The number 2 driver will beep. They were walking by.
Yeah. Drop-ins or
Yeah, exactly.
just curious. That's great.
Correct, yeah.
That's great. And how many years have you had it thus far?
8 years. So December
8
7th
years.
was our 8th year.
December 7th. Well, we know what that day is.
It's a lot of
Couple days.
a lot of
Couple
special
people.
days.
Yes.
You know, it's actually my great aunt's birthday as well,
in
and she
Melba.
used to in Melba's birthday, as well as unfortunately the
Yes.
Pearl Harbor as well.
Right.
But my great aunt, she after school I would go to her house until my parents came home. So she took care of me during the daytime. So it was just
Well, isn't that special?
yeah.
That ties it in even deeper.
It does,
you know.
and it wasn't planned that way. I didn't say, I'm going to open on this day. I just opened when I was ready.
That's the universe
It is.
working.
It is. It is.
Have you ever had anybody come and want to invest in your business?
Not
to grow?
directly as far as investments, but quite a few people that want to come in and maybe sublease or something like that. But I've,
Do you have other teachers that work under you now?
No, not yet. I do have some people that are actually assistants in training.
Oh, okay.
And so pretty soon, for sure.
Because you do definitely need to have the quality and the standard
Exactly.
at which you
Exactly.
you teach.
Exactly. So
That's
I'm
important.
teaching about 25 classes a week right now, personally. And that's probably one of the main differentiators for our school, is that every class is taught by me. And until we get, someone that's at the instructor
The
level,
level.
then, they'll be brought in to help teach the classes as well.
Do you find that there are people out there, or young men, women, that want to be on that level, that are dedicated to be on that level?
They do, but for different reasons. We have a lot of our students that compete, and they actually do very well in competition. But
and what age range?
From kids all the way up to the adults, in their 40s.
So there's
and
competition all on all those different levels.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So we do tournaments, and so right now that's probably the motivator, as well as earning their rank. Everyone wants to get their black sash or black belt, and so working towards that. But maybe they're like me right now. They don't see owning a school in their future or teaching in their future, which is understandable. Some, if you have family, kids, it's priorities first, family first.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that you have a lot of family support with this.
I do. I'm not only my personal family, but also
Extended.
the families, of the
extended.
people I teach, and it's,
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So, in the business process, I'm sure there's stress. And how do you deal with that, especially with your training?
Practice. So it's just really it is just practicing or doing something to not focus on the stress.
So when you say practice, you say actually practicing some form of martial arts.
Of martial arts.
Okay, because you are focusing your brain. I mean, that's your mind.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, I mean, that's what it takes.
Yeah, it does. And I'm also very lucky, like I said, Grandmaster, he owns the headquarters school in San Francisco, and he has a lot of students like myself who have also opened up their own schools.
Oh.
And so, it's really a family type community. So I'll reach out to other schools, pass ideas by them as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
Share information.
Exactly. So it's.
So do you have like competitions with other schools in San Francisco with your students?
Well, they do have tournaments, and they all compete at the same tournaments.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not just specific. I mean, does that entail across the globe? I mean, across the United States, or just in California? Or?
Actually, Grandmaster has schools in over like 300 schools across the world.
Oh, wow.
So he has Australia, China. In Africa, different countries in Africa.
Oh, okay.
So in the UK,
Sure.
in Europe. So he has Spain, Mexico, as well as a lot in the U.S. as well.
So, I mean, was he born and raised in China? And then he's Chinese? Or
He was born in China. He came over here at a young age. And it's kind of funny because he wanted to get into martial arts right away. And he did. And I remember asking him one time, I'm sitting with him. I have no idea what to say. I'm like, been there for like 2 years, right? Sitting there with Grandmaster. And he's like, so do you have any questions? And I was like, sure. I said, when were you done? And he said, done with what? I said, done with martial arts, He said,
never.
Exactly, right? So the Grandmaster right there admits, you're never done. You're always learning. And, and so
because there's no, it's like that old saying that, you practice, but when is it perfect? You're always improving.
Always.
How can you be perfect when you're always improving?
That's it. So it's very humbling, and of course humble for him, but humbling to, see that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so can you share some of the benefits that are like for the kids, getting involved with it?
Yeah, I mean, of course there's the physical benefits, right? Seeing kids get stronger, they can all of a sudden do great plank back straight push-ups, right? And it's flexibility. But the real benefit that I like seeing is just seeing them change inside. A lot of, not...
Inside meaning their attitude?
Their attitude, and it's amazing. I've had a couple of kids come to me within the past month. He's like, hey, Sifu, I noticed when I practice at home, I get better here. I do better here. And I was like, yeah, that's great. So it's like they're learning the lesson, and I remind them these are some of the traits that you can practice all the time. So, sometimes
throughout life, you mean?
Throughout life.
With everything.
Everywhere,
life.
yeah. So I joke with them sometimes, can you practice kicks and punches in Whole Foods? And they're like, no, Can you practice listening and respect at Whole Foods? Yes, so those type of things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's an ongoing teaching.
It is.
Respect and honor and mental mind focus.
It is, and try to incorporate where they could bring a lot of this focus, a lot of this confidence and things like that into their school, at home, wherever they are.
And I bet that the parents are happy, because you're teaching them something that maybe they can't teach them, or they...
Well, it's different, they're around them all the time, so sometimes it's just me reinforcing something that they've already said.
Sure.
And so,
but,
yeah.
how
sure.
that cycle goes with your parents.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So what about the adults? How does that play out when you're teaching adults?
It's kind of the same, but of course with the adults, it's, what we teach is, I won't say it's a little bit different, but we kind of, from a self-defense standpoint, we do everything. Certain things you don't want to teach the kids or even the teens, because you don't want certain things to get to the schoolyard from a self-defense standpoint.
What do you mean?
Well, just as far as, So, of course, ultimately we teach martial arts,
right.
So it's to protect yourself.
Oh, sure.
So whether it's, joint locks or pressure points.
And hope that you never have to use it,
Exactly.
but you know what to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
and so, with the adults, of course, we kind of teach everything, because the style of arts that we teach, all arts, but Trolifat, which was founded in 1836, is a combative martial art. So it was made for combat. This is before guns, before those type of things.
Yeah.
And
like
same with Tai Chi.
Points,
Yeah,
you started
exactly.
To mention,
yeah. So as far as that goes, but most of the life skills we teach in the kids, we teach in the teens. The life skills are actually built into the martial art. I had one of the adults come to me, this is a few weeks ago, and he said, I just wanted to thank you. And I'm thinking, like, for what? He said, I get more respect here than I get at work.
Wow.
And he said, this is because of you, right?
Oh.
And so it's, it's something that we live, right? So it's not just something that I do 9 to 5.
Right.
But
it's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
A lifestyle.
And it's,
sure.
you see it kind of going into the students, adults, or kids. Yeah.
Well, that's rewarding.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good to hear that you're appreciated for it.
Thank you.
know, because that's important. So where do you see this going?
Well, I think things to keep growing the school. I'm not looking to expand or anything right now, but I do want to expand, of course, internally. And you know, the goal is to get people to teach. You know, there's really a pleasure in teaching, and so you know, getting the people to that level, doing that, and yeah. So it's.
Do you ever have a student that is hard to teach?
Yes, but it's only like at the moment, right? So it's just like the longer they're
Just because they don't have that connection with the mind and the body, or
sometimes a lot of times, mostly sometimes the mind. You know, we all have a lot of things that we're going through, and it's hard to practice this when you're not thinking somewhere else, right?
Oh, okay,
so,
not focusing.
Yeah, so
that discipline.
Exactly. So, but you know, once they get the structure and everything and understand, and you know, they can really get the lesson once they can control their thoughts.
So, do you teach the kids like that, the real martial art about defending? You know, like you were saying about the 1800, you know, style that was for self-defense. I mean, is that what you teach them on top of all the other techniques, or? Yeah,
well, you know, I'll say for our style, for the kids, we teach the kids Chuale Fat. You know, we also teach Tai Chi, but that's for mostly the adults, or adults predominantly. But for the kids, we teach Kung Fu, and they learn all the forms. So the forms that they learn are the exact same forms as the adults, but the techniques within the forms, you know, most of the kids, I want to make sure if they get caught in a situation that they can get away, and so most of their techniques are going to be like to get away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for the teens, to kind of protect themselves, right? And then for the adults, you know, we want to make sure that they can kind of go home, so to speak. So, yeah.
So have you ever had a situation in your own life where you had to really exercise your protecting yourself?
Not since I've been learning martial arts. And so I think that's the beauty. My teacher, Tai Sifu Wong, Grandmaster's son, used to always say, you learn how to fight so you don't have to.
Right. I mean, I thought that was like the premise of learning that, because then you don't have to fight.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but from, you know, I've never taken, I mean, I've done Tai Chi and I've done Qigong, and you know, I love those practices because it does exercise the mind body, you know, and no separation of the two. But it's a meditation. It's kind of like a meditation.
Yes.
And
it's often been referred to like a moving meditation. Tai Chi.
Right.
And Qigong.
And so have you had any of your students actually get into a fight?
Not that I know of that have told me, but I've had, you know, a couple of situations where they were able to avoid it. You know, one lady, she's with her kids getting into the SUV, and some guy came up and was like, I forget the situation, but they were asking them some question to open the door, asking for money or something. And, you know, she used the most powerful thing she had, her voice, and scared the guy away. And so she came and, like, you know, thanked me. And her kids were like, "Well, Mom, he just wanted $5." You know, it's like, so, you know, it's.
But what I understand is that when you're at, like, your level, or even not that high, it's the persona of the energy that you exude that shows that confidence that don't mess with me.
Well,
I mean, I don't mean it so, you know.
Yeah. You know, they say what you show, you also attract, right? So, you know, I don't look for anything, right?
God,
so, you know, my circle of friends where I hang out, that energy is not
It's the
there.
calm.
It's not there.
And
Yeah.
having fun and respect. And
Correct.
all
So
that.
it's and we can kind of recognize things before they happen, and so it's just about making the right decisions at the right time, just like sparring and or fighting too. It's all about timing. So.
Well. I mean, other than the physical practice and the mental, can you attribute anything like the emotional discipline on it? I mean, I guess I'm trying to pick your brain to teach a little bit, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned we were talking earlier about how you meditate every morning,
Yes.
and it's really about calming the mind, right, and being in the present moment. So, and one of the things, I mentioned it a lot in the Tai Chi class and the adult class, is to do that you just have to focus on your senses, because your senses, you can only smell now, see now, touch now, taste now, right? And so all these things, it's just about being in the moment. The thing that frustrates most people is like, I can't believe that person, a few blocks away did this, or I can't believe, or I have to be here tomorrow, or, it's just, it's usually things outside of what we can control, outside of the present moment, that brings frustration. So,
Yes.
And so the challenge is, how do you bring it into the present moment? Because only then is when you can deal with it.
Well, we've been reading about that, haven't we?
We have. That's true. That's true.
Yes, good old Gary
Zukav.
Zukav, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, do you see yourself having more schools eventually, or because I mean, your Grand Master has 300 schools. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to go somewhere that he doesn't have a school if you really wanted to.
That's right.
Grow.
Or
can you combine forces with him?
No, probably if I had the ability and option, to open up a school, meaning I have enough instructors to run my school,
that's probably
and instructors that can run another school.
Right.
That's going to take some growth.
Yeah.
But long term, I would love to open up a school somewhere in the South Bay. I used to work in San Carlos, for example, and so over there, and I would love to open up a school maybe further up north in Nevada. So stay along the California coast.
Yeah. Do you find that the hardest challenge is getting the teachers?
Well, that's the journey, right?
Yeah, okay.
So it's all about a development. So I can't snap my fingers and have them. It's all about, it's the teaching, and so that's the journey.
And evolution of your students.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if they're committed to doing that.
Yeah. Well,
you have to be committed to do that.
For sure, and they're definitely committed to the art.
Yeah.
Maybe not thinking to open their school yet,
Yeah.
but then once that becomes a possibility, then that's something they could visit at that time.
Yeah. Timing.
Yeah.
It's all timing anyway.
Yeah.
So.
That's it.
Oh, wow. So if there's like some wisdom that comes out of it for you personally, and then I'll ask you another question after that, for this, what's the best reward out of it? Out of doing, this practice, what do you feel is the best reward?
I really like seeing the benefit that other people get. A couple of stories, I have a couple of students that have, one student in particular that has Parkinson's, for example.
Wow, and how old is this person? About?
Possibly around early 70s, late 60s.
Okay, so an older person,
Yeah. And, before she told me that the doctor said, your medication's going to increase over time and the shaking's going to get worse. And so, but after she's been taking Tai Chi for a while, she's came to me, said, I really want to thank you. Said, not only am I not taking more medication, her dosage has been reduced.
Yay.
And
Yay.
her shaking is not as bad.
Yeah.
And, she doesn't know it, but a lot of times I'll look at her to see on certain moves, because when you really focus and you're connected and you're breathing and everything's moving properly, you can see a stillness in her, and the shaking's just gone.
Wow.
And so if I see any shake,
she's right in that zone.
yeah,
That,
yeah, it's just the connection,
wow.
And so if I see where there's some shaking that comes, I'll go over and see if there's something different about that move that she can do. And a lot of times during that move, the shaking goes away.
Wow.
And so, little things like that. I've had someone who
Oh,
injured.
please share your stories.
Yeah, well, it's just their stories, right?
Well,
so, yeah, they injured.
It's part of your story too, because
Yeah.
you're teaching. Right?
Yeah. So I'm definitely fortunate when they shared it with me and that it's benefiting them. But another person used to work with seismic equipment, and he smashed his knee pretty bad. And he was taking kung fu from me at the time. And
I mean, he had the accident while he
while
was
learning kung fu, yeah. And again, I saw him on the street. It's like, hey, I haven't seen you, or how you been? And I saw he's carrying these 2 sticks to help him walk.
Sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and he sent me an email, but I didn't know how bad it was. And so it was pretty bad, surgery, everything. And so I said, well, why don't you come in and do Tai Chi? And when he was actually my first student. So, you open up the doors, you have no one, right? And then he was my first student. So,
a challenge.
in Kung Fu, yeah.
Wow.
So he came back, did Tai Chi, and I kid you not, in like 3 to 4 months, he's like, Sifu, you see anything different? I was like, what? I left my sticks in the car, right? So he doesn't even need it anymore.
Wow.
And now you see him, he's jumping rope. He told me that he went on a hike, on hikes. And so just seeing, the rehabilitation that, the practice that's helped. And it's,
it takes discipline,
it does.
Let's face it, it takes discipline to be on this planet.
It does.
Especially now.
Yeah. Well, we all know the truth. So I'll just leave it at that. We all know the truth, whether we want to admit it or not. So.
Oh, wow. Are there any other stories that you'd like to share?
Well, that's for, some of our older students, for in Tai Chi, but, same in, for the kids, we have different patches, nice side kick or nice punch, full splits, but the most important patch I let them know is the academic achievement patch. And so
academic
achievement. So if they get, mostly A's, for example,
in school, this is outside of your school.
Right.
Mean? Okay.
So, but I give the patch for them to wear here for their progress. And I've had some kids who maybe they didn't qualify, but through Kung Fu, now they're actually earning this patch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you see an increase in their
it's
personal grades at school.
For them.
Well, yeah.
Hopefully.
A lot of times they don't do it for the patch, but then every semester, like just last month, I started saying, hey, you guys should start getting your report cards soon. So, bring them in and show me. And so.
Did you have a student named Ismail?
Yes.
I know him.
Oh, okay.
I saw his photograph, which I thought was, you have a photograph on your site.
Yeah, school photo,
and he was in the back.
Yeah.
I thought, I recognize
him.
Yeah. He's one of my friends, and I know him. I mean, I've spent time around him.
Right.
And he's one of my friend's grandsons.
Ah, okay.
And I thought, because I know that he's had challenges, with his learning and everything, maybe not physically, but, So I thought, oh, that was interesting to see him there. Does he still attend your school?
No, he started quite a few years ago.
Okay.
And he stuck around for a while. Then I think, he was between jobs for a while or something. But, for a while he would still come by. We have a code for students in the back door so he could come in. And so he'll come by and talk and, share certain things, and I really love talking to him because
Yes. He's
he's
always learning.
Yes.
He delves
Yeah,
into
yeah,
deeply
yeah.
into subjects. I know that's who he is.
yeah.
He's a charming guy.
And
He
that's
really
the thing. I keep an open mind, so it's not just me teaching, but
Yeah.
for me listening, I learn a lot
yeah.
from my students too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So, any other wonderful stories you can tell? I'm sure you have lots, actually. But, like, have you ever had to deal with a handicapped child that came in? You know, I don't even like to say handicapped,
Right.
but handy-capable, but somebody that has physical
I
challenges.
I have. I don't do many private lessons, but I had someone who had I can't remember the name of it right now. It's like some type of disease
disability.
Disability where there would be sometimes outbursts or things like that.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I would meet with her separately.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she first thanked me, and she was almost in tears. And she was just so thankful because she apparently has been to many other schools, and they said no.
Oh.
Yeah. And so so I worked with her. And
well, you have that peaceful way about you.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. So it worked out pretty well for a while.
Yeah.
And her mom, she said, "I just want to thank you." He said, "You probably just don't know. This is probably just another class for you, but you just, I just want to thank you. You can't imagine what this is doing for her." And so we did that for quite a few months, and she had a couple outbursts, but I scheduled it, before we had classes. So if she does have an outburst, it's just her and I, right?
Yeah.
No one else, and whoever came with her, and so.
I forget the disease, the name of it. I'll think of it. But
But
okay.
we're with her she's with school for quite a few months.
Yeah.
At least 6 to 8 months, and then. She had a couple other outbursts, and maybe something is going on, so they stopped. But I definitely didn't want to say, no. So it's very rare that I give private lessons, just because of the amount of classes that I teach.
Well, you don't have the time.
Yeah. So it's, but in certain cases, sometimes I will make the exception. Yeah.
Well, that was, I'm sure, a very valuable exception.
Yeah, it was. And
yeah. Any other stories?
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Please share, because this is good for, I always look at this as we're teaching the viewers, and if they're watching this, and they might know someone or they have someone in their family that has issues, and that's why, I'm asking you different examples,
right?
Because who knows who this is this
right?
You know what I'm saying? So thank you for
opening
up about that, because it's an example.
Yeah.
For others.
Yeah. The main thing is to maybe just start. We're in a high traffic area. And I've had so many people come in. Oh, I've been walking by here for years, and it's like, and you just now came in.
Yeah.
So thanks for making that first step in.
The first step is like the most. It probably takes all the energy. The first step, like anything that you're fearful about.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And so the main thing is to try it. And the movement is beneficial. I remember there's this lady. She was, in her 60s, and she was taking Kung Fu in the class, and, we do seminars every now and then, and I was teaching the sword form. So you actually get to use a broadsword.
Oh, wow. That would scare me.
Yeah, and she was like, Sifu, I want to do the sword form.
Wow.
And at first, I started to talk her out of it, only because in the beginning, she was a beginner, and teaching the forms was a little bit hard for her to remember sometimes. And so I didn't want to feel, financially, I could just say, oh, sure, and just take them, but it wasn't about that. I just felt that it might be hard for her to learn this form within a 2-hour span.
Right.
And so she said, Sifu, I just want to do it to move. And so, again, this is me learning from my students. I said, Christine, I understand. And taught her, of course, the form. And she learned it. For the movement.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You know, another thing my teacher, Tai Sifu Wang, would say is, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So, yeah.
I've been hearing that all my life.
Yeah, so it's...
That's why I'm dedicated to keep moving,
Yeah.
especially when you have a back issue.
Yeah.
You got to keep exercising.
You have
and
to
moving. And,
keep that mobility,
you know,
keep the
our
muscles
bodies
loose
are
and
made
warm.
to move.
Yeah,
And
for
we
sure.
have to move because it,
Yeah.
you know, as you know, it releases chemicals in the body that
Yes.
help us
Yes.
always.
Always, yeah. And so it's just the...
So did she use the sword? Was she able
did.
to do that?
I gave her separate private lessons after just to keep it going, but she actually did it at a tournament too.
Oh my
so
goodness.
she performed it.
Wow.
She didn't just learn it, she performed it. So
Wow.
yeah, so again, you know, if the student wants to do it, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to make decisions for them. That's not, yeah, so.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as they don't harm themselves. you
Yeah, of
know,
course, yeah.
That's,
And our swords, they're carbon steel, but they're not sharpened, so.
oh, okay.
Yeah. They look sharp, but they're not sharp.
Yeah, yeah. So what other forms are there besides that? Meaning the sword? I mean,
Yeah, well, there's actually a lot in both Trolley Foot and Tai Chi. So, you know, Grandmaster, you know, he dedicated his life to the arts at a young age. You know, have teenagers in my class, and a lot of times I'll ask them, so do you know what you want to do? You know, and they're like, no. You know, and I just keep asking them because, you know, they're in high school and they're going to be going to college soon, so I just, you know, want to kind of help them. So, but he knew at a
do you
young
ask them
age.
what they want to do for their life
Yes.
skill,
Yes.
or, you know, their gift that they're giving?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And so Grandmaster, you know, he knew what he wanted to do at a young age. I believe before he was 10 years old,
Wow.
he already knew he wanted to dedicate his life. And so I was, you know, amazed by that. And it shows. And this is why, you know, he has over 300 students that have opened up schools worldwide. And, you know, it is the largest Kung Fu federation in the United States. So it's, yeah, it's definitely an honor to learn from him and his organization.
Does he know you're doing a TV show?
Nope. No, not yet. Yeah.
Well, he'll probably be happy when he can watch it.
Yeah, I'll probably send him a message after so we communicate every morning. You know, this is like the whole family thing. Every morning he sends a message to a group of students through WeChat, which is like the Facebook of China, right?
Right.
And so every morning I get like a good morning or have a good day and those type of things. And
So does he expand like on spiritual things? Or?
Usually every week he'll do either a quote or something along those lines.
Because there's a lot from you know, the old Chinese.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
So.
Well. Any more stories?
You know.
You've been on a roll.
Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes, you know, through the conversation, when I hear something that reminds me, I'll definitely, you know, say something that. But off the, you know, top of my head, it's really just the growth, not just the kids, the teens, the adults, the seniors, seeing the benefits that they get from it. And you know, one thing I would say, I remember a few years ago, I did it was a career day at a junior high school. And so I represented, they had...
Here in Marin? Or?
Yes, it was actually in San Rafael.
Oh, okay.
And so, I was at a middle school, and we went down, and they had people from different professions. So you had a lawyer, you had a doctor, you had a firefighter.
Across the board.
Correct, and I was a small business person.
Okay.
And so, and we met before we went to the classrooms. And one of the things that, you know, we went around, say, like, what did you want to do when you were in middle school? And so I remember when I was in middle school, I wanted to be a pediatrician. And I told them that. And the lady's like, well, right now you kind of are, because pediatricians are responsible for keeping kids, healthy and safe, and that's what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And I never thought of it that way.
But you're the different form.
Right,
the
exactly.
Same concept.
Exactly.
But,
so I never thought of it that way. But, yeah.
Dr. Sifu?
Yeah, right? You get honorary doctor's title somewhere.
Oh, that's funny. Oh my, wow. Well, it's very rewarding and disciplining, and which is good because, kids need to learn. I always tried to teach my daughter self-discipline.
Yes.
Because that's what it takes,
Right.
is self-discipline. But she did soccer.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's a popular
8
sport.
years.
Wow.
8 years.
Wow.
I was a soccer mom.
Ah.
Yeah. She's not utilizing it right now.
Right.
Anyway, she has that
Yeah,
foundation.
that foundation, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she'll get back to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so any closing words that you can share? Any wisdom that, you've been doing this for eight years? You've had your school,
Had my school for 8 years.
For 8 years,
yes.
but you've actually been doing this for
30.
For
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a long dedicated time. And, I think it's important to share the benefits, which you have shared a lot of benefits with, your particular students.
Yeah.
But how about for you?
I believe the main thing is the ability to really focus. A lot of times it takes discipline, right? So they say
All
that
the distractions that are out there.
the distractions that are out there are just going in and making sure that you're practicing. So one of the sayings that I use in the schools is like, learn it, love it, live it, right? And so, most of the people come in because they want to learn it. Mm-hmm. The ones who stay because they love it. But ultimately, like we said earlier, it's about living the values.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say, eat healthy and then I'm walking out of McDonald's or something like that.
Not setting an example.
Not setting an example.
Yeah,
so you really have to live the values, and that's the main thing. And it's that takes discipline. You can't ask your students to practice if you don't practice.
Absolutely.
You can't ask them to show respect if you're not respectful. And so
that is the holy grail that people should embrace all over this planet.
everyone wants to. But if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? So it's not as easy as it may seem.
Interesting.
It's easy to follow the crowd sometimes.
I have a different mindset, so
yeah.
I don't choose the easy road.
Yeah, well, you choose a road that's for you. Excuse me, but you choose a road that's for you.
It's also the way you've been reared, and from your family and your parents and your relatives, and
that's true.
Principle is.
Yeah, and we will follow the pattern of our ancestors and our past for sure, until we make the decision to make our own.
Right.
Yeah.
So outside of the teaching, when you teach, do you actually go in and you practice?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So how often do you practice?
Well, a lot of times I'll practice before the students get there. When I get there...
Is it to warm up?
First thing I do is warm up and stretch. So that way I'm already loose for the classes, right? And then, I get some practice, of course, with the students, especially with the adults, if we're doing techniques or things like that. So, I'm teaching it, showing it, doing it with them. And then my own practice as well.
How many techniques are there? Or should I even ask?
Endless.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I said, should I ask?
Yeah, I can't wait till I learn the next one even. So it's ongoing.
It's really?
Yeah, it's not...
Is that evolving in the actual martial arts, or it's already there?
It's already there.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So like I said, this art was founded in 1836.
1836.
And so it's, there's so many ways to use a move, and what it comes down to is not the order or the sequence of a move, but it's your balance while doing it, connecting your body while doing it. And so...
Is that balance your mind and your body?
Yes.
I mean, that's what you're talking about, balance.
Yes.
Because if your mind isn't, I mean, your mind controls your body, basically.
It does. It does. And so,
yeah.
If your mindset is like, okay, I'm going to punch hard, and well, it's about doing it right, connected, and so it's really finding that balance. It's really a balance. It's relaxing when you do it.
The meditation.
It is. It is.
Oh, this has been a wonderful example and learning that with having you on the show. And if there's any words of wisdom that you can share, because our time is slowly going to stop.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I can't really think of any one.
You've been sharing
conclusive phrase or anything to say, but like I said before, it's really just to start. We a lot of times put our own roadblocks. Oh, I started too late in life, it's too late for me now, or I'm not that flexible, so I can't do it, or I don't have the time, and these are just things that we're not willing to work around right now. And so
we as human beings.
As humans.
Yeah.
And so the main thing is you deserve it, right?
And what I've learned with myself, if you have that fear, the only way you're going to get through that fear is to do it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
it. That's it. That's it. So that's really the answer.
So anyway, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For sharing your wisdom and your thoughts and your stories and your example.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have 5 minutes, but
Okay.
I mean, is there anything else you want to share? I'll cut this out, but
yeah.
If there's anything else you want to share?
Well, I mean,
and all of your information, which I have, will be on the credits and etc.
Okay, great.
And your name will be up there on the interview all the way through, or
right.
3 times I'll have.
Right.
And then, but I won't put your phone number, I don't think.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't put your phone number.
Yeah, they could look us up for sure. Yeah.
But I'll have everything else on there.
Yeah, it's been fun. Hopefully I did an okay job keeping that eye contact.
Oh, totally. And I didn't, and it's funny because, and with dear, sweet, wonderful Melba, I have a hard time just staying on the script because I go with how the conversation flows.
That's very similar to martial arts, right?
Yes.
You can't say, I'm going to block high.
Oh,
but
no. You got to go with the flow.
It's the flow. That's it.
So this was okay, but it... I think I put my glasses on once because I was listening, and
nice.
That's the arts of doing this type of work. Listening so you can ask the right questions.
Right.
And hello. Okay, thank you.
Was that?
Have you ever had an Alzheimer's patient?
I don't believe I have. Yeah. No, I don't.
Or that you were aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, yeah.
Okay.
But, in teaching the Parkinson's patients, I have learned a lot about that. And so I know that there's 5 stages. And so I've had people call, so I'm not sure if my name's out there as far as someone dealing specifically with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
But I know for right now, I'm capable of hopefully working with and hopefully helping levels 1 through 3.
Okay.
Usually for becomes a fall risk.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I would need an extra body around for
Right,
that.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And level 5, usually it's just very, mobility is tough on them.
Yeah.
And so,
It would be too much of a challenge to actually do it, or they would just be slower. And,
I definitely would need
know.
the assistance as far as
Yeah.
other instructors. And
Yeah,
so,
because they could topple over at any
for
second.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure. And
Yeah.
so, but I like the ones that I have. I love seeing the balance just improve.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times we kind of react the way that we. It's like a reaction, So the react is a reaction. It's just like, so we're used to catching our balance, maybe throwing our arms up or leaning forward, and a lot of times those things bring us off balance. The balance comes from the posture,
Yeah.
not from leaning forward or throwing your hands
Is it
out.
the core?
It really is the core.
Yeah.
And so working on posture in meditation and Tai Chi that's the real benefit. And because it's practiced slow, it forces you to use the core.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it sounds like if you did have an Alzheimer's patient, you'd have to give them a little bit more attention.
probably and
Like a Parkinson
mhm,
student.
yeah. And if
It would be good for them. Dancing and music are really good for Alzheimer's. I've had
mhm,
a specialist on my show about that. And
mm,
movement is so important,
Right.
because of
Yeah.
the chemicals that
Exactly.
it exudes, that it
Exactly.
releases in our body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing.
The lady who I taught Down syndrome.
Oh,
She
wow.
had Down syndrome.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
okay. The one you were discussing
I was discussing earlier, the
Yeah.
private lesson.
Yeah.
Yes. So
And how was that? I mean, she probably was right there with you, right?
she was. And we did private lessons, like I said,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was very emotional for her when I said yes. And
Probably just because of the way she looked,
Yeah.
But you know what? That is expanded. That's expanded, and I love it when I see them working in the public.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And so
I mean,
it's
they're
yeah.
human beings. They
Yeah.
just are slower,
Right.
They don't have that processing ability,
It's
Some of them
amazing how you mentioned how maybe because how she looked. It's amazing how
Yeah.
people just
judge.
quick to judge.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and as you may know, when I was younger, I had a brain tumor,
Right.
and
Yeah.
as far as me possibly getting surgery, I was worried about how I would look because I've seen people after surgery and the
Oh, wow.
swelling,
Oh, yeah.
and so I was worried about that part.
Yeah.
But thankfully, surgery I did not have to have. So
Yeah. Well, you obviously had the angels or whatever you want to say working in you, through you, so that you didn't have to have surgery.
yeah, it's definitely something. Yeah, it's.
So our next one, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that
Yeah,
for sure.
I know you're not ready for it. That's
Okay.
okay. I don't want to force any of that.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do some cutting in this and then bring
Yeah.
it back to
Okay,
the
good.
that Down and Alzheimer's and your other
Perfect.
patient. Yeah, or student, not
Yeah.
patient. Well, patient.
Well,
You're the pediatrician
that's right,
that's-
right?
that's acting through your martial arts.
Yeah, for sure.
So, does your dad still practice?
No.
He doesn't.
No.
Does
But he does, like, he goes to the gym, he works out.
Oh,
so
okay. So
that type of thing,
he
yeah.
still
So he still, yeah.
does that because
Yeah.
it's important, definitely.
Right.
All right.
Do you want to do an outro tag or something?
Yeah, I want to. I definitely thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess. Thank you for tuning in, and I want to give a special thanks to my wonderful crew, Carl, Ginger, and Brad, for their wonderful commitment to helping make this happen, and thanks to Marin TV, and thanks to my guest again.
Thank you.